So session 4, our last session for the day, is on digitalization and innovation for sustainability impact. And to moderate this session, or to chair the session, I'd like to please invite Ms. Jackie Ma, the President and CEO, Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia, up on stage, please. May I also invite the panelists of the session, Mr. Izzet Zamri, welcome back on stage, Key Account Manager Asia and Senior Business Development Manager of Carbon Space. Ms. Wong Hui Yin, Acting Director, Bursa Intelligence, Bursa Malaysia Berhad. Mr. Nazri Yusof, Senior Vice President, Prasarana Malaysia Berhad. Mr. Muhammad Firdaus Asari, Head of Digital SDK 3 Berhad. And there you have it. Can we have a big round of applause for our last panel session, ladies and gentlemen, for our panelists and our moderator. Jackie, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I always have this challenge. I'm standing in between everyone going home, but we will try to make it as interesting as possible. Firstly, I'd like to thank Supun for the invitation, and also congratulations to your the pledge. Very meaningful. I'm glad to see that there's a lot of adopters out there, and we'll be happy to support you to get more adopters in. I think today's session, we had the privilege of hearing from the panel sessions before. There are a lot of solutions that has been discussed. And I think whatever it is, I think technology plays a very big part in helping to accelerate these movements. What I'd like to start off today is to say that you've explored the foundations of sustainability. You've looked at various solutions that has been shared, circularity, as well as responsible waste management. But we cannot deny that technology and innovation will play a big part in pushing sustainability beyond your compliance. And I think really looking at how technology and innovation can drive real transformation in accelerating your goals. So Izzet, you have already delivered your presentation. Perhaps if I can start off with Hui Yin delivering the presentation. And what we're going to do is we're going to let everybody present, and then we will do a round of panel discussion and questions from the floor. Hui Yin.
Thank you, Jackie. Very good afternoon. My name is Hui Yin. I'm from the Stock Exchange, Bursa Malaysia. Some of you may have met me because the centralized sustainability intelligence solution is not something new, something that we have been going to market to raise awareness about. So maybe today I'll just keep it brief, just as a recap for some. For some of you, I think there are some non-listed companies in the room, something for you to also reference and see how you can leverage on this. So the CSI will be used by the stock exchange to get information, to get disclosures from our constituents, which is the listed companies. So for that, we do have a layer that is solely for reporting. So this is, we have announced that Malaysia is undertaking compliance in accordance to ISSB, IFRS S1, S2. So we have launched the NSRF, National Sustainability Reporting Framework, and this is very much mapped to it. So it is ISSB S1, S2 ready. So it's ready for companies to use. When you use this, it simplifies the process of you complying. But beyond that, we have also weaved in some solutions. You see, when it comes to emissions, Scope 3 is naturally the most challenging companies face when they want to do reporting. So we have democratized the entire process onto the platform, digitalize a lot of engagement, and you can track it very easily. And we have also, on top of that, because it all boils down to how fast can you innovate to keep up with the evolving standards. So what we've done is that we've introduced AI solutions onto the solutions, to complement the entire process. So it actually makes things a little bit more simpler. You don't have to go back and redo the same thing over and over again. you use AI? Because right now, I'm sure a lot of people have your ChatGPT, your Gemini on your phone right now, at your disposal. So this is no different. It's just helping you do things a little bit more efficiently. So maybe just as a very broadly overview, what the CSI means. So there are three key components. The first one is the carbon calculator itself. So this is completely free for companies to use. Scope 1, Scope 2. Scope 3 will come with additional features where it will help you manage your supply chain, help you identify who are the higher emitters, and you can engage them properly. So all this is done in a manner where you can track, you can monitor, and you can also use it for your reporting. So this is the one that is managed, the supplier engagement tool. So the tool actually helps a PLC invite your supply chain to the table. So it weaves in elements of training, of capacity building, and also it offers you a platform to report onto. We have the national standard, the SEDG for SMEs to comply to, is already there. And if you do not want to use SEDG, you can also use a more simplified version module where it comes down to 6 key questions that SME just needs to start reporting. So this is just to get them started on the process. And this is just some functionality within where you can manage the suppliers, and the suppliers themselves can also track their own progress. So when I say things are digitalized, so when you email, when you track whether or not they have come onto the platform to register themselves, or they have undertaken the training that we've recommended for, it's all on the platform in a dashboard manner. Okay? I think this one is the reporting function. This is for PLCs to use when they want to comply to the NSRF standards. Everything is done in a simplified manner, very easy for you to digest and unpack.
Thanks, Wee. And I think what they say is what gets measured gets governed as well. I mean, we have worked with Bursa on the CSI platform. I must say that they have really provided a platform that's easy to use, accessible. We will talk a little bit about the challenges, right, that companies are sort of facing when flowing out this platform. Maybe we move on to Firdaus from SD Guthrie. You'd like to carry your presentation first?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to share how digitalization and innovation in SDG turns sustainability into real impact. Before I start, maybe a bit of background on SD Guthrie. We are one of the largest producers of certified sustainable palm oils, and we manage around 600,000 hectares of plantation lands across Malaysia, Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, and Solomon Islands, and we have refineries all over the world. We have R&D centers as well all across the world. So in SDG, in SD Guthrie, our business, it's at the intersection of food security and also climate responsibility. Yeah. So that's why last year we, SD Guthrie, we launched a new framework, a sustainable framework called Beyond Zero. This was launched in the RSPO in Bangkok, event in Bangkok. And the idea is to restore nature, to empower communities, and in short, to define, to drive growth responsibly. So today, the market doesn't just reward good products, it also rewards responsible companies. Customers are willing to pay more for products that are produced sustainably, and also 65% of employees, they prefer to work for a company that with strong environmental commitments. So sustainability is not just what we do, it is also core to our business strategy. And it is how we grow and how we create long-term value in SD Guthrie. So our Beyond Zero framework, it consists of 3 pillars. We call it Zero, Restore, and Transform. And this is a sustainability plan designed to meet the challenges facing the world today and in future while supporting our growth as a business. So we started thinking beyond net zero when we came up with this framework. The 3 pillars, as I mentioned before, zero is about cutting emissions, preventing deforestation, and managing waste responsibly. On restore, the idea is to regenerate biodiversity and soil health and giving back to the ecosystem that sustains us. And transform addresses the people's side, where we improve the livelihoods of the community where we operate in. And also in Transform as well, we rethink about how we operate our businesses so that we implement technologies such as digitalization, innovation, AI, and to change the way that we traditionally work. The philosophy is quite simple. We aim to contribute more than what we take. So in this slide, it's a bit wordy, but I took some highlights of some of the initiatives under our Beyond Zero framework that we have done recently, and some are still in progress as well. So under Reduce, we are currently operating 19 biogas plants, reducing our carbon emissions, and on track to having 40 biogas plants by the year 2030. We also monitor deforestation around our operations to ensure that we comply, not just from our own, but also from our potential sources from around our operations. We also use satellite to monitor hotspots, to monitor for open burning, because sometimes this happens through the communities that surrounds our estates, and if this were to spread into our estate, then it could become a big problem. On the refinery side, we've implemented technologies such as electro-oxidation, zero discharge to manage our water waste there. Under Restore, some of the things that I would like to share is that we are using drone and satellite mapping for monitoring or measuring our HCV, high conservation value areas. And we are also practicing regenerative agriculture. We are now at 51,000 hectares and onwards towards our target of having an area of 100,000 hectares with regenerative agriculture. And also we are running a yield intensification program called Mission 1, where we aim to raise our yield by 1 metric ton per hectare. So we are using very heavy data, analytics, remote sensing, even changing the way how we operate to ensure that we can reach the same amount of yield without increasing our land use. And then on the breeding side, we have programs such as Genome Select, where we use genome research methods to ensure that we plant the best palm oil so that we can get the best yield using the same land that we have. Lastly, under Transform, we are working with our smallholders. So these are the communities surrounding our estates, and we are helping them to adopt the good agricultural practices, GAP adoption, and we are also helping them get their sustainability certifications. And also the last one, which I would like to highlight, is our Infinity project. Sorry, the video is not playing. Anyway, there's supposed to be a video, those images are supposed to be video. And these are examples of some of our Infinity project where we use robotics, we use automation, we use mechanization to change how we operate our estates. So far, we have deployed 921 machines across all our operations in Malaysia and Indonesia. And we've achieved 25% reduction in the manpower required for non-harvesting activities. As you know, the harvesting activity is still very manual, and it's still being developed. And for example, spraying of immature palms are now fully done using drones. We no longer send humans or machines to do the spraying. And yeah, I think the challenges that we have to overcome here is because when we design robots and machines for the estate, the environment in the estate is very different from what's readily available out there, right? So, so there's a lot of new AI models that needs to be trained. There's a lot of new, for example, even suspension setup that needs to be designed, right, in order to navigate through our difficult terrain. So I guess that's all that I'm sharing today.
Thank you. I think, Firdaus, you might be picked on your point. You mentioned how important data was when you are devising your transformation strategy, especially on technology deployment. I'd like to move on to that point. I had a conversation with Nazri. He's the data specialist from Prasarana, but he's also here to share a little bit about how AI has actually delivered measurable emissions or cost gains at Prasarana. Maybe talk a little bit about that, share some examples with the crowd, as well as maybe talk about what next in terms of your innovation.
Thank you, Jackie. A very good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me. Basically, this is my first time attending this Sustainable Action Group. All this while I've been attending all the Techies conference. So basically in Prasarana, as you know, is a provider, the transport for the Greater Klang Valley and also Penang and Kuantan as well. So basically we have 5 lines of LRT, MRT and monorail, and we run the rapid buses all around Greater Klang Valley, Penang and also Kuantan. So what AI has already delivered to Prasarana, I mean, all this while, I mean, me, myself, as a data team in a group digital division in Prasarana, what we do is that at this moment, there's a lot of data being silos in Prasarana as well. So you can imagine that there are still engineers taking some, when an incident happened, they put it in on paper. And then from the paper, they put it in Excel. So this is what my team working on to digitize all this paper, the manual stuff in Prasarana itself, because this is what we call the upstream data. And from the upstream data, we can do the aggregation and then come up with analysis and insights to it. For instance, we do some, a few sprint projects like MVPs. We run a pilot whereby we do on predictive maintenance. All this while, like for instance, for train, they are doing like a corrective maintenance, being reactive. So what we are trying to do is that we pick up one of the line, for instance in Ampang, and then we gather some data, we digitize it, and then we collect all the records, and we do some ML, we train the data, and we try to do some prediction whenever, for instance, like whenever there is a, the reason why the train being delayed could be some component in the train itself. For instance, like the door is not opening, or the door has been stopped. So these are we put a sensor in order to understand what would be the insights on it. And then we predict, okay? And then apart from that, we also do some pilot on buses as well, especially on the fuel, fleet fuel analytics. This is where we're trying to ensure when the bus idling, they do not consume a lot of fuel, okay? We try to shorten the idling processes. And also we try to find out whether the bus captain that running the buses, they have a harsh driving or not. So this we will put some indicator or alerts when this happens. And then by doing that, we try to reduce the fuel consumption.
Yeah. Thanks. And I think if anyone has questions, I think we're still open to questions here. Please send it in through the app and we'll pick it up. But whilst on the question of data, I moved to the integrity of data. Is that you did a presentation on the room for error when you're monitoring it manually. Is there an example that you can share in terms of the adoption of your methodology from farm forest decarbonization to credible claims, and what evidence it is that are convincing their auditors? What is the verification that you can actually provide to the organization?
Well, I would say the simple answer to that is probably that the data that we can provide is continuous, and it is, generally speaking, something that's happening concurrently while they are doing any other interventions or any other sort of work on the land or plantations. If you are wanting to do specific manual sampling, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's more of a snapshot of that point in time. And if you are trying to provide something that's more for the long term, I think auditors would really respond well to something that's continuous, something that you can see throughout the entire year, the ups and downs and every single change in the land, negative or positive. And then you have justifications. If you want to go back to that time, you can also go back and see what was the cause behind this, and then you can go into a little bit of investigation. But if you had like a snapshot of like 1 week of manual soil sampling or sampling, testing, or using a specific, maybe a drone team, you'd only see within that period, unless you were monitoring throughout the past 3 months, next 2 months, and if you did any interventions during that period, you would miss it. You wouldn't see the effects of it, at least for another 2 or 3 months, because it takes a while for a lot of these interventions to show impact.
So do you see a lot of uptake coming from your services with companies who are working on scenario planning, for example? Does that help them?
Oh, absolutely. I see that a lot of the data that we provide, it's great for investors and even their own boards, their own companies to justify any sort of in-setting work because it's something that they can visually see and they can visually access. It's not something that was created or a data sheet that was punched in through Excel sheets, but it was more to something that you can actually see go up and down. What was the reason behind this? So it gives them justification to implement more actions, different types of work to reach those targets, those SBTI targets or GHGP targets.
So I think, Huyin, representing the regulators, you are sort of welcoming better data integrity and, of course, better data collection. When you're rolling out the CSI platform that you explained today, what's the uptake like amongst the PLCs, and what have you seen as been the challenges? What's stopping companies from adopting the CSI platform?
Well, we do have, we come from the angle of regulator, right? So when it comes to getting things started, I think it's very key to have that in place. Otherwise, if it's just persuading people to come on board, do things for the good of the global greening the planet and things like that, I think all those altruistic aspirations are very good, but when it comes to business, right, sometimes you do need to bring up the rod a little bit, but it's just that we balance it out. It's not just about compliance all the way. You need to do things with a purpose. So that is why when we did this, it was very purpose-driven. We didn't do this just taking a leaf out of NSRF. These are the things that need to be done and things like that. It is about how do I help you facilitate your reporting, make things a little bit better, get your supply chain on board. So all these things will weave into the platform. So when we roll it out, it was actually very well received because it was very well thought out. Right now we have about ballpark. It is right now not mandatory at this juncture. It will be mandatory for the next reporting cycle. We have about 200 plus companies, PLCs already using it, and within that, the supply chain that comes with, it's about in the ballpark of 6,000 plus SMEs already engaged via the platform. And I think this will just continue to grow, gain momentum as we progress, because the compliance reporting will kick in very soon.
Is the platform, I know for the PLCs, they are encouraged to adopt, but is the platform also encouraging SMEs to come on board, to adopt that?
Yes, so PLCs must do this, must use the CSI to report in accordance to NSRF. For the smaller companies, the ones in the supply chain, what you can do is be part of the supply chain, because it is funded by the PLCs that have taken up anchorship for the CSI. So what they have done is they have put in a lot of resources to train you up, to get you familiarized, because there are a lot of mom and pop shop within the supply chain that actually needs a lot of help, and we are here to help. And what PLCs also appreciate is that when it comes to gaining traction from the supply chain, Busa also does its part. We actually help them do outreach programs to the suppliers, help them organize suppliers day so that they can actually invite their key suppliers to the table, train them up, start them to get familiarized with what is required, and then we grow from there. So it is a snowball effect, slowly gaining traction as we go.
Thank you. So, Firdaus, if I may ask, thank you, Huyen. We're talking about goals and reporting and data. Maybe move a little bit to metrics and targets. You've got, at Sime Darby Guthrie, of course, you've got very ambitious goals. A lot of them are sort of underway. Some are tech-driven. Where are you today on harvesting automation and maybe estate electrification? And really, what's your next hard milestone for Sime Darby Guthrie?
That's a good question. Thanks, Jackie. So we are progressing in phases. We know that harvesting activity is very hard to automate, very hard to mechanize, because it requires expert human dexterity. But we also know there are lower hanging fruits such as fertilizer application, chemical application, transporting of fruits out from the operations, and those are progressing well according to our plans. So the next hard milestone is we are targeting to achieve 1,000 hectare of fully autonomous fertilizer application, which should happen sometime end of this year or January. I think it's January. And the next frontier, I think what we've been discussing recently is to have a dedicated estate where we're going to rethink the whole philosophy of managing this estate to make it digital. So we are talking about an estate about 1,700 hectares in size, where a manager with very little manpower, assisted by technologies such as AI, robotics, mechanization, and we want to see whether this kind of technology could really drive yield, really lower down our emissions, really impact, reach all our metrics in terms of sustainability and productivity.
Interesting. Nazri, I'd like to move to you. Whilst we're talking about the next hard milestone for Guthrie, what about at Prasarana? So beyond your EV bus, your maintenance, preventive, what does Prasarana think of Malaysia's urban mobility, maybe in 2030? Is there any thoughts about the 3 biggest changes that commuters will notice?
Okay, so basically, if you look at the Prasarana Sustainability Blueprint, we are targeting in 2030, most of our buses will be gradually phasing out the diesel-powered one. So we're expecting about 1,600 by 2037. All buses in Greater Klang Valley and Penang will be EV powered. And then, if you look at the ridership data from the train itself in the Greater Klang Valley itself, there were about almost to 1 million ridership daily basis for all the lines that we have. So we're targeting in 2030, it will be like double from it. With the coming up of LRT3 coming soon, inshallah, we expect an increased ridership on that. And not forgetting with the recent petrol has been regulated, you can see that a lot of people using a train and buses, not longer the students or B40. You can see some M40 and T20 as well. So it will be a lifestyle sooner or later, by taking transportation.
I presume also better reliability.
Yes. Hopefully with the AI optimized that we're going
Yes,
to put in place as well.
Thank you. I'd like to just maybe round up the panel. I know we're a little bit short of time, but I sort of want to give everyone enough time to sort of round up today's session. Because we are talking about innovation and technology, is it, in your mind, what you do at Carbon Space, what else do you think technology can help, the industry that you're in, the sector, and how can that further enhance what you do at your organization?
I think in the previous panel, they touched on an important point about greenwashing. And not only do the innovations of SD Guthrie or in any other companies nowadays, they are all innovating. Everyone is innovating because they have that singular goal of creating accurate and verifiable data. And that's something that we believe in very strongly at Carbon Space. I really think that with this, it can really help out the smallholder farmers. It can really help out the people on the ground. I am someone who has gone to many site visits to plantations. Every week I used to visit one, and I used to go in maybe 3 or 4 hours, maybe 8 hours off-road just to get to a plantation. And the people at these plantations are expert agronomists. They are people who are professors, PhD holders. These are people who really believe in what they do. They work really hard, long hours, and not for any benefit to themselves and their families, but they just want to see something good happen to their plantations, to the people around them, and see it benefit the community. That's one thing that I really believe in Carbon Space also, is that we are working towards helping the communities and helping out our regions, which now I'm focused on Asia, basically. Primarily in Asia, I'm focused on helping get back the communities here. Oftentimes, you don't see a lot of international initiatives from outside companies wanting to really benefit the local communities, but now that we are expanding a little bit more within the region, I think that we can see this really happen. And that's important to always think about when you're thinking about innovations and new activities. Never forget about why we're doing it and why we are even innovating in the first place.
So innovating with purpose, innovating for the community.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Hui Yin, I think where CSI platform sits, I won't ask you to divulge your secrets, but what's next coming up from CSI platform, and how do you continue this drive to encourage better take-up of the platform, which is so useful for companies?
Yeah, you spoke about innovation, right? I think we want to continue to tap into that. See, the gentlemen to my left and right, they do real work. I, on the other hand, I am helping to facilitate disclosure. So what do we do then? So I would like to free up the time of this gentleman instead of doing paperwork to do the real work, right? So how do we do that then? Using innovation, using AI, tapping into the powers of Gen AI. This is what we are trying to do in Busa. The two value-added services that we have introduced actually democratize the report writing. So it frees up the CSO's office that typically used to use, it could be a ballpark of 2 to 3 months just to sit down to write report from scratch. It can be as fast as now. In a day you can get a good base report provided you give good quality inputs. It can be that. So we are working towards helping companies move towards leveraging on new technologies, and we free up the time of the CSO's office to do the real work.
Yes. So like every AI conversation we have, the time we save will be used to do more meaningful work for the company. Thank you, Hui Yin. That was a good closing. Nazri, I like to just ask about, you've spoken about, now in 2030, how do you see technology play a role in Prasarana's advancement in the service that they offer? Besides better reliability.
In terms of technology, you can say that, as I mentioned, lots of digitization process have is taking place in Persrana at the moment, because there's a lot of legacy. We have legacy train without the sensors. We have buses powered by diesel and without the sensors as well. So the technology that we are incorporating right now is we have a team, the AMR engineer team, my team. So they are working with the engineering team as well, both rail and also buses, putting the sensors, and then we try to gauge the data from it. Because all this while, the data, as mentioned, the engineer, they just put it in the paper, in Excel sheet, and there will be no correlation on the data itself. So when incident happen, they will react reactively instead of proactively. So the data is most important in Persrana itself. And then we try to consolidate the data into a one platform. We call it Fabric itself. And then from the data itself that we consolidate, we aggregated it, and then it will be used by all the stakeholders. In fact, we also have a collaboration with Google as well by sending out some data that you see from the Google Map. These are the data that we shared with them. And also we shared with the Mampu in open data so that any NGOs or any students who are to do some programming, you need a data from us, it is available so that you can facilitate us Persrana as a premier public transportation in Greater Klang Valley.
So as you mentioned, your data is key to your engineers in building, the next new tech. So maybe I come to you, Firdaus, at the end. You are at a very progressive end in terms of sustainability goals as well as even technology advancement. Many companies may not be at that level where Guthrie is. And what would be your advice to these companies and how they start, how they accelerate their journey, and how they use tech to support that initiatives?
There are ways to start small. So when we started in SD Guthrie, we did not go and directly sign a contract with Google or Amazon or all, right? We just purchased the capacity that we need so that we could experiment on things. And once it gains traction, then we scale it up. After it's proven, then we get management support to invest even further into these technologies. It's the same way where we develop our robotics technology as well. We started with something that's more manageable, more achievable. And also throughout all these years of testing new things, right? We understand things that we learn through mistakes. That some things, even though it's good, may not be scalable in a plantation, 600,000 hectares plantation like us. For example, while it's good to have water level measurements everywhere in our estates, right? But imagine installing one sensor per hectare. That's already 600,000 sensors that we need to purchase and install everywhere. So that's why we need to think about other solutions like satellite monitoring using drone monitoring and all those, right? Without installing the physical sensors. So I guess to summarize how other smaller companies can start doing this, start small. Look at the highest value, find the low-hanging fruits, and also work with partners. There are startups out there that are willing to work with you with probably minimal cost so that they can both develop the technology together and with some IP sharing agreement and all that, right? Lots of ways.
Thank you. I like that. So it's starting small and moving from maybe intention to more measurable action. I think at the end of the day, what you've all said is that every claim and every commitment and every offset must be backed by evidence. Yeah, and that's really the first prevention to greenwashing. On that note, I'd like to thank you all for your attention. Please help me in giving a round of applause to the 4 panelists here. Thank you very much. And back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jackie. And as a gesture of appreciation for the presentation, I'd like to once again invite Mr. Supun and Mr. Dirk to present souvenirs to Mr. Izzet, Ms. Wong Hui Yin, Mr. Nazri, and Mr. Firdaus. And we'd like to invite our ladies and gentlemen on stage for a group photograph, please. All right, thank you very much, and a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for our fourth panel session. Well done.